Hi guys. In next few presentations we are going to cover main theories in international relations. Today we will speak about realism. Realism has dominated the academic study of international relations since the end of World War II, and it basically remains as the most popular and influential concept in international relations. Realism is a school of thought that posits a pragmatic and power centric view of the world. It underscores the significance of state interests, power dynamics, and nature of international system. The system of views known as realism actually includes two ideal within political realism and neorealism. Classical realism is based on the idea of power politics in terms of egoism, whereas neorealism developed upon the anarchic nature of society. Before we move on with defining each theory, I wanted to share the books that you right now see on your screen. The first one belongs to Hans Morgenthau. It's called Politics Among Nations, and the other one belongs to Kenneth Walls, and it's called Theory of International Politics. So the first one emphasizes on classical realism, while the other one is considered as a foundational text of neorealism. So those two books are quite interesting and handy while studying international relations, and not only. So, political realism is a theory of political philosophy that attempts to explain and prescribe political relations. It takes as its assumption that power is or ought to be the primary end of political action, whether in the domestic or international arena. In the domestic arena, the theory asserts that politicians do or should strive to maximize their power, whilst on the international stage, mainly the nation states are seen as the primary agents that maximize or ought to maximize their power. Political realism commonly holds that the international community is characterized by anarchy, since there is no overriding world government that enforces a common code of rules. This particular theory paints a pessimistic picture of international relations that are seen as a fierce competition between countries that have no reason to trust each other when the essence of their existence is self-preservation in an environment where one's loss is another one's gain. Any kind of cooperation between countries is perceived as accidental. And it also has to be mentioned that for realists, the Second World War was a confirmation of their ideas. So, political realism emphasizes that aggression and conflict are inherent in human nature and that international relations itself is such an environment where the main goal of sovereign states is military security and struggle for power. In his book Politics Among Nations, The Struggle for Power and Peace, Hans Morgenthau identified six principles of political realism. And we are going to right now display them one by one on the screen. So, politics, like society, is governed by objective laws rooted in human nature, forming the basis for a rational theory of international relations. International politics are shaped by a state's interests, especially in terms of power. Interest in power is objective and universal, but not fixed. Realism is aware of the moral significance of political action. In other words, if a friendly country is being attacked, as much as we may want to help, it may be unrealistic to believe that we can do so without unacceptable risks. Realism does not liken the moral aspirations of a particular nation to the moral laws which govern the universe. So, if one country invades another on the basis of God's will, realists don't identify this as a justifiable cause of war. Realism is profoundly different from other schools of thoughts. Realists are aware of the existence and relevance of other fields and the experts within, but sometimes politics must be separated from economics, morality, or even law. So, as Hans Morgenthau defined, realist thinks in terms of interests defined as a power, just like as the economist thinks in terms of interests defined as wealth, the lawyer of the conformity of action with legal rules, and the moralist of the conformity of action with the moral principles. So, if the starting point of political realism is the inherent flaws in human nature, neorealists emphasize on international system and consider the features of the system as determinants of international politics. Neorealism introduces the concept of the state as a unitary rational actor, emphasizing the systemic pressures and power distribution. The two main postulates of the theory of neorealism define the structure of the international system as follows. First, the international system is more anarchic than hierarchical, and second, similar units with the same functions interact in the system. So for neorealists, power distribution is quite important as the structures are defined not by all the participants present in them, but by the most powerful ones amongst the participants. The first two concepts of neorealism, anarchy and structure, are intertwined. The structure of the international system is said to be anarchic. So anarchy in this case does not imply the presence of chaos or disorder. It simply refers to the absence of a world government. And since there is no global authority that provides security and stability in international relations, world politics is not formally and hierarchically organized. National states are the only entities in the international relations that have the centralized legitimate authority to use force to look after themselves. Sovereign states are thus the constitutive units of the international system and the primary actors in world politics. Therefore, the organizing principle of international structure is anarchy, and the structure is defined in terms of states. As each state constantly feels insecure, each needs to be capable of fending for itself. And this leads to the concept of capability. So, capabilities are instrumental for states to ensure their survival. A neorealist assessment of the capability of a state is determined by five main criteria: its natural resource, its demographics, economy, military, and technological capacity. So, in striving to attain security from a potential attack, states are driven to acquire more and more capabilities, and the more states have, more power they tend to have. Thus, we come to a security dilemma, where a lack of trust among states leads to an arms race and tension. So, Neorealists also believe that the core of national interest is security, while power is the useful tool for achieving security. So, national interest is one of the main concepts of neorealists, and basically it means the country's goals and ambitions, whether they are political, economical, or cultural. Of course, there is a lot more to talk about political realism and neorealism. However, I tried to underline the main points of these theories, and I hope you like it. Stay tuned for more.